President.
We got to do the clap first. I called Donald Trump that very night, late at night, to congratulate him. We didn't delay for weeks on end pretending that it hadn't happened. I invited him a few days later to come to the White House with his wife, Melania. I arranged for all of my agencies and teams to prepare manuals for the transition. I had tried to pass on the same lesson that I had learned from George W. Bush when I came in, and that the peaceful transfer of power between parties is part of what makes a democracy work. By the end of Donald Trump's presidency, I was not surprised that he is acting the way he's acting. When I was born, in much of America, likely in this hotel, there were probably no African American guests. If you and I were meeting, it would be because I was carrying your bags. That's in my lifetime. And we're now sitting, and I'm the former president of the United States. And as frustrating and sometimes discouraging as the news can sometimes be, 59 years is, in the course of human history, that's a blink of an eye. When I was born, Spain wasn't a democracy. The world is still a better place than it was when I was born. And I think that maintaining that perspective, the long view, is part of what I try to transmit in this book.
So help me God. Congratulations, Mr. President.
There is no doubt that some significant damage has been done, both here in the United States and around the world. If you ignore science, if you ignore facts, then a pandemic's going to be worse. If you encourage or at least are forgiving of racist behavior, then those who have those impulses feel emboldened. Well, I think what we saw in this election is that America is deeply divided. And some of those divisions preceded Donald Trump. Some of them will still be here after Donald Trump. But what is certainly the case is he accelerated those divisions. He fanned the flames of division. And I know that Joe Biden is somebody who, by instinct and by character, is a unifier. And I am confident that one thing I learned as president is it matters what the president says. It matters the tone that the president sets. The president of the United States can't solve every problem, even though oftentimes people expect that he should be able to do so. But he can encourage a certain way of interacting. And I think that you'll see in Joe Biden a return to some of the traditions that I tried to uphold when I was president. History doesn't just move forward. It moves backwards. It moves sideways. What makes me optimistic, ultimately, is the younger generation, not just here in the United States, but around the world. The degree to which they believe, much more than their parents or their grandparents, that all people are equal. They embrace the idea of a common humanity. They embrace the idea that we are stewards of this planet and that we should deal with issues like climate change. I remain cautiously optimistic. We can't take it for granted that democracy is always going to work because democracy is the most difficult form of government because it requires each of us as citizens to constantly be paying attention and to hold our leaders accountable and to analyze critically what's being said and what's true and what's not. And that is more difficult in this modern age than ever. We have now a multitude of media so that many Republican voters they don't hear anything to contradict what Donald Trump says. There are alternative facts and an alternative reality that we're seeing even now when Donald Trump declares that I haven't lost the election yet, or there's been fraud and illegal votes cast, even though there's no proof of it. Nevertheless, that story still continues. And as a journalist, I'm sure you have a sense of this as not just an American phenomenon, but a global phenomenon.
I do.
Particularly because of social media and the internet. All of us are going to have to find the ways of balancing and capturing the good of social media and reducing the bad. Doing that in liberal democracies is more difficult, right? Because we have traditions of freedom of expression. And so one of our big challenges in all our democracies is how do we go back to the point where we can have a common baseline of facts? Because the idea is we should be able to debate ideas, we should be able to debate solutions to problems, but we should be able to agree that climate change is real. We should be able to agree on economic statistics. We should be able to agree when the votes are counted at the end of the election, who's won and who's lost.
Sir, you ran for the presidency on the idea of change. Do you still believe that you pushed as hard as possible?
My proposals were actually as bold as I would have wanted, and I just kept on pushing until at a certain point I had to make a decision. Am I going to take this half loaf or no loaf? And I ended up developing a saying inside the White House, with my staff when we'd be arguing about how much to compromise. At some point, you'd say, "Is this going to be better than what we have right now?" And if somebody said yes, it's better, then I'd say, you know what, better is good. I did not expect Donald Trump to be elected. What I did expect, though, is that if he was elected, it'd be one term. I was right about that.
I sense there is a hidden thread in your book, which someone connects the book from beginning to end, and it's a question: why? Why try your hand at politics? Why run for the Senate? Why run for the presidency? You feel that you accomplished that to the extent you wished?
I have never believed that just by virtue of my election that we would eliminate discrimination in the United States. There's a famous story of a young boy visiting the Oval Office with his parents. He had a question for me. And I said, well, what's the question? He says, does your hair feel like mine? And I said, well, why don't you check? And I bent down and he touched my head and said, oh, it does. It signified this little boy saying, okay, this very important man, he's actually like me. And I think that in various ways ends up having overall a positive impact, not just in his life, but in the life of the country.
Mr. President, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. Thanks. Nice to see you in Spain.